Great artwork, great game. It's the return of Wasteland. Brian, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk today. How are you feeling at Gamescom?
How am I feeling at Gamescom?
Yes.
You know, it's been great. I mean, you know, I've discovered that probably half the press that have come in here today are backers of the game. So it's like they've been anxious to see it as much as, not just from an intellectual press perspective, but from like real gamers that got behind us from the very beginning to see where it's been. So that's been great. And so anyway, it's been a good show.
I'm going to say, is there a bit more pressure on you then, realizing that these are the people who have spent the money on it?
You should see the tweets I get. Yeah, there's a tremendous. I've never had more pressure to ship a game in my life, for sure. It's a very, I mean, Kickstarter. There's a lot of it's all. I mean, I love it, but it's a very personal. You know, you're putting yourself out there to succeed or fail for the world to see.
Yes, to touch upon that, you're talking at the start of the presentation about, I mean, this is your baby, you've been pushing for it for so many years. Yeah. I think the question is, I mean, why is this so important to you? I mean, why have you persevered over these years to get this done?
I just wanted to say I told you so.
God, stickler, man.
Yeah, no. It's the kind. I love the category, the genre. I've always loved the post-apocalyptic. I love a certain kind of role-playing game, which is a very reactive one, very dark and kind of twisted, kind of funny. So there's a certain style of game that I love to do and I've been wanting to make. And so, but at the same time, there were gamers that were for everywhere I would travel around the world going, when are you going to do another Wasteland? So I knew there was a desire. I knew there was a desire for me to make it. But then there was a retailer or a publisher. There was obstacles in between, so I never could get there. So I always felt like I knew people wanted it. How am I going to get there? So it's been very fulfilling to, be persistent all these years and have Kickstarter come along and give me that opportunity.
Saying about publishers, saying about retailers, then is it a case of perhaps other parties wanted a different version of Wasteland than the one you envisioned and the one you want, and this is allowing you that creative freedom to make it exactly as you imagined it?
There's no question. I mean, in a weird way. I mean, I was out pitching it, but they would have had their own spin or made it more console oriented or something. So, even though it was painful, in a way, it's been good that it wasn't picked up and that it happened this way, because this has allowed me to make it exactly how I wanted to. Have it party based rather than single player based, and again darker than the average fare, a little more tactical in nature, heavy emphasis on writing, and as you can see hopefully in the demo today, it's a very handcrafted sort of game where we really dig down in subtlety, and I love taking things like their ridiculous conclusions as much as I can, and so it's just, I think, not a game that's typical that you would see from a typical publisher. Not that they do their own thing, which is fantastic. This is just a different kind of product. Just
no compromise, basically.
No, not at all.
You're saying, touching upon that, the changes, you would imagine this would be a very different game if anyone else got their hands on it and wanted to reinterpret the original. Do you find that it's harder, in fact, sorry, not harder, with Kickstarter, that gives you that access? I mean, how have you found the whole Kickstarter project, the whole concept of it?
Well, I mean, the first part, there's the financial part of it, and so there's a purity to the Kickstarter funding, because they just want a game. If you take money from a venture capitalist or from a publisher, they just want a profit. Ultimately, they don't really care about the game as long as it turns a profit, where the money from Kickstarter is just give us a certain kind of experience in game. So that's been very freeing, and it's also the dialogue is much more open than it would be normally, which is great, because there's all the pressure that I spoke to, but at the same time, because of that constant communication, there's no surprises, and it gives me a better confidence to deliver what they're expecting, as opposed to the old days. Go back to Fallout, we'd work on it, in darkness, and then release it and keep our fingers crossed, and that would be unheard of to do today.
Well, where are you guys right now in development? I mean, what have you got left to do?
Well, at this point, we've got all the levels in the game, and now what we're doing is we're starting to iterate on it. Like some of the best moments you saw today all happened in the last week. You got to get everything in and start coming up with those small little touches. And so we're at the point now where we're going to get it into beta, into our backers' hands here pretty soon. And then at that point, we'll start to solicit feedback from them and start tuning it in more to march towards the final product.
Listen, thanks very much for talking to us. All the best.
Thank you. All right.